Okay, so back to why I'm voting against Kamala Harris. Let's begin with her worldview. Kamala Harris, like Joe Biden before her, has said that equity ought to be at the center of all of her policies. She doesn't mean equality of rights. She means equality of outcome. That's what she means by equity. She hasn't been shy about this. She's put out videos about this. She has said it repeatedly in different contexts for literally years. She really, truly believes that virtually all disparities are a result of discrimination, which means that any group that underperforms has been exploited by an evil system that requires an uprooting. The world is a system of oppressors and oppressed, and it is the job of the federal government to rectify those imbalances both domestically and abroad. For some groups, no evidence need be shown to demonstrate victimization, say women in the United States, who currently constitute a majority of college graduates. We just label them victimized because historic victimization is enough. For other groups, even evidence of current victimization must be ignored so long as members of those groups are disproportionately successful. And here I'm looking at Asians and Jews. Asians can be barred from college because, of course, they are white adjacent. And Jews, despite being the most targeted group in America by hate crimes on a per capita basis, they're too successful. They're actually victimizers. Well, this is an evil worldview. It incentivizes failure. It punishes success. It treats people not as individuals, but as members of classes. It is entirely 100% grade A anti-Americanism. It tears Americans apart on the basis of identity, on the basis of characteristics they can't control. And no, it is not going away. She's trying to hide it, but it's the essence of her entire campaign, which treats women and men as enemies. This campaign has been so anti-male, it's insane. I mean, from the ads that say that women should lie to their husbands and have to lie to their husbands, to the trotting out of the lie that Donald Trump and all of his supporters somehow want to make it so that women can't live in America is like a line they use repeatedly. This campaign ignores hatred of Jews so long as it comes from intersectional communities. There's a full-scale terror attack in Chicago by an illegal immigrant who was Muslim, shouting Allahu Akbar, and the Kamala Harris campaign had nothing to say. And this campaign promises endless benefits, including the very redefinition of reality to marginalized groups. That's how Tim Walz ends up stumping for tampons in the boys' bathroom, pretending boys are girls as a sop to a marginalized group. This is how the Biden-Harris White House has repeatedly attempted to enshrine racism in law. It's why Kamala Harris, for example, has suggested like $20,000 giveaways to various racial and ethnic groups. Okay, that is racist, and it's wrong, and it's violative of the Constitution. Harris's economic policies are rooted in the same worldview. So are the Democratic parties as a whole. Thus, businesses that are successful are definitionally, according to her and her party, exploiters. They should have their wealth expropriated and spent as Kamala Harris and her friends see fit. They've never run a business, by the way, so they have no clue how to spend money, but they're going to spend it better than business people. And they're going to spend it on groups they seek to politically cultivate. Regulations are simply ways to establish equality of outcome. Innovators must be punished as oppressors. They're bad. The rich are seen as a separate class from everyone else, despite the fact that income mobility remains the hallmark of the American economy. Again, I know many, many, many rich people. I'm talking billionaires. Virtually none of them started even as millionaires. This is one of my bugaboos. I hate this, okay? This basic idea that there is like the rich and then everyone else. In my life, I've gone from very not rich to very rich. I'm the same person. There may be a point in the future where I go back from very rich to not very rich again. That is how it works in an income mobile economy. But everything is based in this Marxist lie that there are classes in American society that are uncrackable and unshakable, and so the system has to be torn down. The answer to everything for Kamala Harris and her team? Control. Top-down control. Higher taxes, more spending, more regulation, giveaways, takings, borrowing. That's Kamala Harris's program. And that's why Joe Biden brought about 20% inflation, the worst inflation in 40 years. It's why inflation outpaced wages for the vast majority of his tenure. It's also why even before Joe Biden launched his massive spending initiatives, his White House forecast stagnating growth a decade into the future. Okay, understand, that's not a bug of the Democratic program. That is a feature. They would rather have equality in stagnation than inequality in prosperity. And now, extend this crap worldview to the realm of foreign policy. The woke ideology means weakness and surrender in the face of foreign predations. That's what it means. It treats muscular and self-confident American defense as a weakness and cowardice and surrender as a virtue. Kamala Harris says she was the last person in the room on Afghanistan. You know what? I believe her. Both she and Joe Biden still brag about the worst foreign policy embarrassment of our lifetimes. The pullout from Afghanistan was hideous. It was ugly. It was un-American, in which billions in military equipment was left behind for the Taliban, one of the worst groups on earth, as erstwhile allies, people we had worked with and given promises to, were hunted down by the Taliban or were falling off wheel wells at Bagram Air Base. A pullout in which 13 American service members were blown up while they were trying to help innocent civilians escape. A pullout that ended with 19 million women stuffed into burqas in basements, deprived of any hope of a normal or decent life, and with no capacity for us to do anti-terror operations anywhere in the region. They were lying the entire time, our over-the-horizon capacity. It didn't exist. It was the weakness in Afghanistan that led Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. And Joe Biden's first move, by the way, was to offer Vladimir Zelensky a plane ride out. Then Joe Biden and team pursued the dumbest foreign policy available, a commitment to unspecified victory while slow-walking the actual aid that might attain something resembling it. Well, folks, as you may know, we have a big election coming up. Let me tell you, there's a lot at stake. If Kamala gets into office, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire that's already visible from space. Here's what you can do right now. Protect your savings by diversifying right now into gold from my friends over at Birch Gold. That's right. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife. It can protect you right now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. The best news, it's not going to cost you a penny out of pocket. Think about this for a second. In the past 4 years, while the buying power of the US dollar has been declining faster than CNN's ratings, the price of gold has increased 40%. Is that a coinky-dink? Nay. So here's what you need to do. Text Ben to 989898. You'll get your free info kit on gold, and then you can diversify. As the exclusive gold partner of the Daily Wire for the past 8 years, you can trust Birch Gold as I do to protect your savings. Do not wait for the election results to start thinking about your financial future. Text Ben to the number 989898 for your free info kit today. That's Ben to the number 989898. Again, we've been working with the folks over at Birch Gold for a really long time. Give them a call, ask them all your questions, and then when you feel secure, invest. Text Ben to the number 989898 and get in touch with Birch Gold today. Meanwhile, the Chinese are on the move. They've been building steadily in the South China Sea, increasing the actual building of military bases in territory they don't own, threatening Taiwan, moving forward with every possible aggressive act short of war. Move on over to the Middle East. It is the same story, except much worse. Joe Biden came into office. He immediately alienated the Saudis and the Israelis, our actual allies in the region, in a misguided attempt to establish parity with Iran, simultaneously freeing up billions of dollars to Iran to spread terrorism and build up ballistic missile technology. All of that culminated in the current seven-front war launched on Israel, our ally, by Iranian proxies, which began with the slaughter of 1,200 Israelis and the kidnapping of 250 people, including American hostages, on October 7th. So what did Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do? They slow-walked aid to the Israelis. They criticized them. They said that it was the Israelis who were doing terrible things. They undermined the government of Israel openly, attempting to oust the sitting prime minister of Israel. They openly threatened Israel with cutoffs in military shipments. They're doing it right now, literally right now. They're threatening a full cutoff in military shipments to Israel by November 13th. If they don't take Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's advice on fighting Hamas or Hezbollah or Iran, advice from dullards. And most of all, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been total, utter, complete cowards in standing up to the massive tsunami of Jew hatred that has emerged from their own support base. They've said nothing about Rashida Tlaib, nothing about Ilhan Omar, nothing about what's happening on college campuses, nothing. They have nothing to say about it. They'll say, obviously, well, we don't want people, messing up the university, but they will never say that what these people are protesting for is wrong and bad and evil. Instead, Kamala Harris and company have implied that Israel is the problem, that Israel is committing a genocide, which it is not, and that those protesting American support for Israel have a solid case. She has said that herself. And then, of course, there's the border, which really is a foreign policy issue, because Kamala Harris believes that America is rooted in xenophobia and racism. She has presided over a wide open, unprecedented in the history of the country. There are only two reasons anyone in high office would open the border this wide. First, in order to change the voting demographic of the country. I'm just speaking logically here. These are the only reasons you would do this. Second, because they believe the United States somehow owes citizens of other countries residence in America because America bears some sort of blood guilt for everything happening around the world, which is an aspect of wokeness. For Kamala Harris, probably both are true. Okay, finally, the third reason I'm voting for Donald Trump is because of the institutions. Now, I know, for those who are moderates, who are thinking about Trump, who are a little wary, I know this one seems to boggle minds because everyone on the left talks nonstop about January 6, 2021. I get it. Thanks to Donald Trump's legal and public relations maneuvering between November 2020 and January 6, 2021, this is where the left has made their hay. Now, listen, I saw no evidence of Trump's contentions at the time on electoral fraud, on widespread electoral fraud. I said so. He had every right to challenge this stuff in court. He had to show the evidence. I didn't think he did. I thought his statements about Mike Pence's ability to single-handedly refuse to certify votes from the states was both morally and factually wrong. By the way, I thought January 6th was morally wrong as well, and tragic. Although, to be sure, many of the people who are prosecuted have certainly been over-prosecuted. I know some of them. There are people who have been prosecuted to the full extent of the law for basic trespassing into the Capitol in ways that BLM rioters were burning down cities were not. But listen, Donald Trump is not the threat to the institutions of the United States. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about with regard to January 6th, 2021. There's another date that happened, January 20th, 2021. Okay? And that's when Donald Trump left office. All the institutions survived Donald Trump with flying colors. Those who say there wasn't a peaceful transfer of power in January 2021, they are lying. They're lying. A riot that was in January 6th does not mean there was a non-peaceful transfer of power. That's not how transfer of power works, okay? There was. That is why Joe Biden took office without a military operation. It's why Donald Trump left office as constitutionally specified, right? He wasn't holed up in the White House like Al Pacino in Scarface, snorting bags of coke and saying hello to my little friend. That's not what happened. The constitutional checks and balances held up. And here's the thing. If Donald Trump were to win, those particular checks and balances would never even be implicated, specifically because Trump would have won. There would be no further challenge to an election. Democrats have far graver plans for our institutions, and they say it openly.
Are you tired of the lies and the twist of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.